You can definitely forget the turkey this Christmas. This prime rib will be the star of the show. It's beautifully cooked, it tastes incredible, and the gravy that's made from the beef drippings is out of this world. Let's get straight into it.
Now the first thing we're going to do is make a butter crust. This is completely optional, you don't have to do it, but we're going to add 150 grams of unsalted butter to a bowl. Then what I have here is 10 grams of rosemary and 5 grams of thyme. Just pick off the leaves and then roughly chop. We want these to be quite fine. Don't have any large leaves or stems, that's probably the main thing to concentrate on here. Then we can add this into the bowl with the butter, along with a nice pinch of salt as well as some cracked black pepper. 20 cracks worth. Then just use the back of a fork and just mash this up, making sure everything's completely combined. If your butter is too firm, you will have to let it sit a little bit because it will be a little bit of a mission to mix together. Once you have that done, we can then introduce the star of the show. This is a 1.5 kilo prime rib. It is just a Scotch fillet with the rib removed, and it's a big slab, and you can also truce this up, so just tie it with some butcher's string to hold it together, but for this I don't think it's needed. Also, if yours has bones in, even better, it's even more flavour. But we're just going to season this quite heavily with salt as well as cracked black pepper. Just make sure all of the sides are coated. If you want to use less salt, you're more than welcome to. But a slab of meat this size does need quite a bit of salt for that to be able to penetrate into the center of the meat. Now if you are using the herb butter, like what I'm doing here, just place this onto the top of the meat on that fat cap. And then we're just going to spread this out and cover the complete top of this. You can use a spoon, it's a lot easier than doing it with your hands. I spent about 10 to 15 minutes trying to piece it together with my hands, but then used the spoon and it only took a couple of minutes. Now to go with the beef, we're going to need 2 brown or yellow onions. Just slice these in half through the root. You don't have to remove the root or even the top. Peel them, cut them into quarters, so leaving them as large chunks. We're also going to do the same with 2 carrots. You don't have to top and tail them or peel them, just make sure they're washed. To get this cooking, we're going to need a large oven-safe pan. What we're going to do is add that beef into the pan, into the center that is, and then add the onions and the carrots around the side. We're using the vegetables to create a jus, which is also a gravy, pretty much made from the juices of that beef. We will be adding a few other ingredients as well to get a little bit of extra flavor, but I'm also using 3 cloves of crushed garlic as well. With cooking a piece of meat this size, we are going to be cooking it to temperature and not time. So I'm using a meat thermometer. This is wireless and it's not a paid advert at all. I just like to use these types of things and it connects to my phone and I can pretty much monitor the temperature at all times as well, and I can set certain alarms. What we're going to do is place this into the oven and set the oven to 250 degrees Celsius or 480 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to cook this for 20 minutes just for that crust to form on the top. After 20 minutes, reduce the oven heat to 160 degrees Celsius or 320 degrees Fahrenheit. We're just going to cook this for an internal temperature of 48 degrees Celsius or 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Then we can remove this from the oven. Just carefully remove the beef, placing it onto a tray to rest. We can cover this with some foil and let it rest for about 30 minutes. The internal temperature will increase and this will be the perfect medium rare. With all of those pan juices and the butter and the fat, just strain off the top layer of fat. You should be able to remove roughly half a cup's worth, but we still want most of that beef dripping and a little bit of that butter in the pan, along with all of those vegetables, and the amount of liquid you should have should be another 1/2 of a cup. To this, we're going to add in a high quality beef stock, 320 milliliters worth, as well as 1 cup of any good quality red wine. Don't have to go out and buy a really expensive bottle, but it is nice to use a nice fancy wine for this because the end result is going to be so good. Let's then give this a really good whisking for all those flavors to become friends. We're going to bring it up to a boil. Once it is at a boil, just reduce the heat to medium. We're going to simmer this for about 20 minutes, just until that sauce is reduced down by about half, even more than 3/4 if you need to, and you should have a thick, beautiful glaze. If it has reduced down too much, you can add more beef stock. You might have to thin it down with a little bit of corn flour. I have notes about that in the description. But once you're happy with the glaze, it coats the back of a spoon. We can then remove this from the pan and pour it through a fine mesh strainer into a bowl underneath. Now my strainer is not completely fine, it does have quite larger holes, so it's not going to be as smooth as I wanted it to be. Unfortunately, I couldn't find my new strainer because I moved out and I don't know where half my stuff is. And we also want to push down on those vegetables to extract as much juices as possible. With that done, should have this beautiful glaze. It looks and smells incredible, and of course it tastes delicious. Now going back to the star of the show, this has been resting for that 30 minutes and all of the juices have redistributed. We can then use a sharp knife and slice this into about 1 centimeter slices the whole way across, and as you can see, it is that beautiful medium rare, and I'll leave details in the description about other timings and temperatures just so you can cook it to your liking. But how good does that look? I'm so proud of this recipe.
So with all of this done, you have this beautiful roast. If this doesn't get your mouth watering, I don't know what will. There is only one thing left to do though, and that is, of course, we can then dig in. It's so good, I can't even swallow it.